Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you're all having a good day today. So today I'm recording chapter 5 of public speaking, just kind of give you a really brief overview of the entire chapter here. And chapter 5 is really about selecting your topic. And for some of you, this will play a key role as you start making choices for your topic, for your informative speech and your persuasive speech as we move on through the semester. And there's various ways in which you can select the topic, what's the topic, why this one, why that one. And so we just wanted to give you some ideas as to how it is you select a topic. Now, for some of you, this may be a little redundant because you already know what you want to talk about. And for some of you, you're like, perfect, like I need some ideas. So let's just go through it and then hopefully you'll enjoy it. All right, take care. Let's see. All right. So selecting a topic. How do you choose a topic? Well, the subject of the speech is actually one of the key components because if somebody says, "Hey, can you speak in front of my audience?" You might say, "All right, great. What do you want me to talk about?" And sometimes they'll say, "Well, you can choose whatever you want." And you're like, "Okay." And so it really becomes a situation where you're like, "Oh my God, what do I talk about?" Well, there's a couple of things. One, you could talk about something that you know a lot about. Some of you did that for your cultural artifact speech, where you shared information about your culture, something that you are involved in, or something that you that you do on the daily basis, whether it be hobbies, games. You know, for me, I could talk about teaching all day. I could talk about basketball all day, and there's a variety of subjects that I could talk about. My kids, my family, for example. You know, I know all about that, and therefore I could certainly spend a good amount of time talking about it. So sometimes when you're looking for something to talk about, best thing to do sometimes is to choose something that you know a lot about. Okay. Sometimes you could choose a subject or a topic about something you want to know more about. Sometimes in that preparation for that speech, you'll do that research, you'll do that assignment in order for you to learn something new yourself because you're just curious about it. Like, for example, I'm fascinated with Tesla right now. The company, the cars, how they work. And even though I'm not an engineer, probably wouldn't understand anything that has to do with the inner workings of the car and how it works, I still want to know more about it. And so if I was going to give a speech, what I probably choose Tesla and get all prepared and do all this research so that I can give a speech about Tesla while at the same time informing myself about what it is and how it works and what it does and all that good stuff. A couple of things you can do. You could do personal inventory. You could basically sort of just kind of on top of your head, just kind of, and these are brainstorming ideas, and a lot of you sort of do brainstorming in different ways, but a lot of just write things down. Boom, 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 boom. A lot of people sometimes say, just write stuff in the wall, uh, you know, basketball, sports, and just write things down with no order. And really, what you're doing is you're just filling up a page with just whatever literally comes out of your mind. You're just taking a personal inventory of what's in your head. And then at the end, you look at it and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, yeah, no. And then as slowly and surely, you start sort of diluting that list into more viable subjects that you may want to share. The other thing you could do is you do what's called clustering. One way of clustering is like you put a one word there that you like, and then all the different words that sort of associate with that word, and then you kind of circle and you associate more. So you could start off with like pets, and then end up with like Chihuahua or something like that, and that's how you get to where you're going. So a lot of times clustering helps. The other thing you could do is do an internet search. Just literally type in Tesla and just see what comes out. I mean, you never know. Elon Musk may come out. Uh, the new model of the Tesla car might come out. You never know. So sometimes an internet search is sort of just a way that you can just sort of gain more knowledge and more ideas about what you can write about. Okay. One of the things that you might want to do also is make sure that you generate the general purpose of your state of your speech. What do you want to do? I mean, if you're here to inform, are you here to persuade? Um, are you here to try share? What is it, right? So you might say, I'm here to share with you information about basketball. All right. Well, then you move on to the more specific purpose, which is I'm here to share the sport. Let's go back. Let's just say that the general purpose is not basketball, but it's working out. excuse me. So let's just say that my general purpose statement is I'm here to share information about working out, what working out is, how to exercise, all that stuff, right? The specific purpose might be I'm here to share information about working out so that you can then go and use that information to work out, right? It becomes more specific. That's a key component there because you want to let the audience know exactly what you're doing and what you hope to accomplish, okay? Um, Next is some tips for formulating the specific purpose statement. One, write the purpose statement as a full infinitive phrase, not as a fragment. In other words, give me the entire purpose, the entire specific purpose. Express your purpose as a statement, not as a question. In other words, you're not asking if you want to do something. You're not asking if you want to share. You're not asking if you want to persuade. You're letting them know this is what I want to do for this purpose. It's a definitive statement that you want to accomplish. Okay. One of the things you got to make sure you do though is that you limit your purpose statement to one distinct idea. Now, why would you want to do that? Depending on the audience and what you're there for, chances are it's not going to be a very long speech. And most audiences, their attention span is not very long. Even if you're a great speaker, you could lose an audience here and there. And giving too much information can sometimes confuse an audience or just lose their attention. So it's important that you stick with that one distinct idea about what it is you want to do and what it is that you want to share. And then make sure that your specific purpose is not too vague in general. It's called a specific purpose statement. And therefore, you should be specific. You got to make sure that you're as specific as possible to let the audience know exactly what you want to do. And that way, you can kind of measure the success of what you wanted to do, and they can actually measure the success. Because if the success was to inform them about what exercise is so that they can in turn start exercising, well, you can measure that pretty well, right? Whether it's successful or not. So it's really important that you are as specific as possible. Now, some of the questions you might want to ask yourself about the specific purpose is, does my purpose meet the assignment? Well, does it? Sometimes depending on what your topic is, it may not be for what your assignment calls for, right? So you have to be very clear on what it is that you want to accomplish, and will that topic fit that purpose? Okay. Can I accomplish my purpose in the time allotted? And this is actually a really interesting one. Um, you know, for my classes, my speeches, depending whether it's persuasive or an informative speech, it'll range from 3 to 5 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, or 5 to 7 minutes. So it's not very long, right? And so what happens is that if you choose a topic that is just huge, right, it may take too much time. So if let's just say that the topic is the Civil War, right? The United States Civil War. That is such a broad subject that for some, they write a 200-page thesis on it, right? It's just so massive that, for some, you can't fit it all. And so it's really important that the topic that you choose will fit into the time allotted because you don't want to leave out very key important features. Now, with that said, there are a few things that you could do. For example, if you want to write a speech about the Civil War, maybe you could talk about a certain time of it, right? Maybe the things that led to the Civil War, maybe what happened after the Civil War. And so or any war, or really just any event. It really doesn't matter. The point is that anything that you choose, whether it's about a person, place, thing, event, concept, idea, whatever it is, that you actually think about, can I fit in as much information as I can without being too vague and without being too general within 3 to 5 minutes, 4 to 7 minutes? Chances are you probably can. So you have to make sure that your topic fits the occasion for the assignment. And will you have enough time to touch on everything? And do you have to then cut a little bit pieces of that subject, whether it be, let's just say we're talking about basketball. You know, if you want to give me a history of basketball from when it started up until now, that's a lot of history. How about maybe you just concentrate on some of the most recent players, or maybe a recent player, just to be more specific. So it really is important that you kind of think about that as you're choosing your topic. Is the purpose too trivial for my audience? This is actually kind of key. And by that we mean, is it too simple? Is it something that the audience is going to be like, oh, why are you sharing that? I already know all about that. Why are you sharing that with me? You know, you have to make sure you choose a subject that actually captures the audience's attention and that you're giving them maybe more information because then they'll be curious about hearing more. So don't make it something that's too trivial that just anybody can get anywhere, right? It's like, how do you post on social media? Chances are most people already know how to do that, and that probably wouldn't be a good how-to speech or process speech on how to do something. You know, how about you choose something that maybe some people don't know how to do? The other one is the purpose too technical for my audience? What that means is that, are you choosing a subject that's so far out that only a select or small group of people will get it? Using technical terms and ideas. I said a little while ago that I'd love to talk about, learn about Tesla, but I wouldn't understand some of the inner workings of the engine or the car. So if I heard a speech about an engineer talking about the inner workings of a car, there's a good chance that I probably would either tune out or wouldn't understand most of the speech because I wouldn't understand the technical terms. So you have to be really careful about that. And if you are going to choose a topic that is technical, you know, deliver it in such a way that isn't, right? Using sort of general words that a mass majority of the audience can understand without losing the integrity of the technical aspects. Okay? All right. Last one. Phrasing the central idea. What is the central idea? The central idea is really the central idea is the big thing. What is it that you're trying to inform? What is it that you're what is the subject? Right? What is the idea of the entire speech? There's something that encapsulates the whole thing. And the residual message is something that leaves the audience thinking about that central idea. For example, if there was the idea of politics, right? If the central idea of the speech of politics is to get people involved, to get people to vote, you want to make sure that the residual message, the last closing statement, is there for you to be able to say, hey, and before we forget, before we leave, make sure that you go out and vote, right? That's the residual message. You want that at the very end, when the audience is leaving the speech or they're done listening to you, that they leave remembering what is that one key thing that you want them to remember. What is that residual message that they can take home with them, right? And for most people, it's just a quick story or a key phrase or something that just kind of resonates with the audience as a whole. You know, things like don't forget to vote, right? Lawyers use this all the time. There's a famous quote given by a lawyer, Johnny Cochran, if I'm not mistaken, during the OJ trials, years ago, where he said, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit, right? That's an interesting residual message because the central idea of his case was that his client was not guilty, and therefore, if the glove didn't fit his hand, then you must acquit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Now, we're not getting into the specifics of that court trial, but we are kind of getting the idea that wow, he used that little message, that residual message, to sort of leave it in people's minds so that when the jurors left, they would remember. They may not remember all of his speech, but they remember the central idea, and that residual message sort of resonated with them in remembering that central idea. Okay. Now, some of the guidelines for a central idea is elaborate your central idea. It's not just a short sentence which with keywords. Sometimes it has to do something that really resonates with the audience, something that'll last. Something really short, like like if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. Yeah, but your central idea that's sort of the very end, the residual message. But the central idea has to be something that's elaborate and figurative and something that will really tie into the audience. All right. So again, this is choosing your topic. It's not very long. It's not very big. It's not a very long chapter. It's actually kind of short, but it is an important chapter nonetheless because for a lot of you, choosing a topic is really the most important part. And for some of you, it could actually take very long because you just don't know what to write. Always remember, when you're not sure, get 2 or 3 topics, put them down. If you can't make a decision, pick one and move forward. Don't let choosing a topic really stop you from moving forward in the speech process. All right. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm here for you. And if you need to talk to me via live, you can always set up a Zoom meeting. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.